Nearly half a century in the past, a group of hunters made the long, tough journey from the old world to the new. Those hunters were called the First Fleet. Why? Because they knew they would send more fleets. Among this fleet are a number of notable personalities, from the commander to the tracker, the seeker, the admiral, and even the huntsman. Some of these I have already told you the potential secrets of, and others are yet to come. However, none of these scenarios are 100% proven, and this means that every person involved could have an entirely different story than I had previously considered. That said, the tracker has been enhancing monsters for decades, silently, always there, in the background, doing what she needed to do. The first time that we see the tracker is after she claims to have rescued the hunter and the handler while they were unconscious. After a brief introduction, she disappears. Skip ahead 2 days. The hunter and the handler track a piece of Zora Magdaros to the lower reaches of the Rotten Vale. The handler, as is expected, got a little ahead of herself, and suddenly, out of nowhere, an Odogaron appears. Where did it come from? That's the right question. Moments later, while the hunter and the handler are distracted by the monster, the tracker mysteriously arrives from the same direction as the monster. Coincidence? No! She was nurturing it. She was teaching it. She was feeding it. The tracker was aptly named. She could track anything she wanted, but after a time, she realized that she didn't quite jive with the moral dilemma facing all hunters. Do all creatures really deserve to die? No! She used her tracking skills to specifically track the monster babies, the monsties, and once she realized she couldn't alter the monsters to no longer be a threat to humanity, she instead vowed to do the opposite. The tracker made the monsties stronger by feeding them high-quality meals with feline skills so they would be strong enough to survive attempted hunting. The tracker buffed the monsters in order to let them live. While the commander is distracted by Zora Magdaros, the tracker puts the final touches on one of her crown jewels, Val Hazak. Once merely a weaker cousin of Gashala Deora with limited flight ability, she taught the monster to wear the rotting skin of its foes, both for protection and intimidation. And she was the one who brokered the deal between Val Hazak and the flesh-eating bacteria known only as effluvium. How do I know this, you ask? Well, I don't necessarily know this per se, but I have various sources who have given me corroborated information that I have chosen to believe as valid proof. While the Research Commission is concerned about dealing with these elder dragons, including Val Hazak himself, the tracker is mysteriously missing once again. Where is she, you ask? The Everstream! What is she doing? Singing to the egg of Safi'jiiva, which made it really, strong due to the power of music or something. Only after Safi'jiiva was toppled, falling unconscious into a valley of crystals, did the tracker realize her work was not over. She may have made monsters strong enough to survive the average hunter, but not to survive the only hunter who mattered. As a result, instead of trying from scratch, she salvaged the Safi'jiiva, and for the next few months, she nursed it back to health, while feeding it stronger and stronger food, resulting in Safi'jiiva shedding its skin to make room for its new layers of fat. This process continued over a long period of time, with multiple shedding sessions in between. However, it does not take all of the tracker's attention. No, because it was around this time that she realized she needed to slow us down before we found that her Safi'jiiva baby was still alive. The tracker, of course, having spent the majority of her life on this continent and being well versed in exploration, had actually been to the Hoarfrost Reach herself before the events of Iceborne transpired. So, while it was sleeping, she injected a Legiana with a vial full of Velkhana's ice particles, creating Shrieking Legiana. Unfortunately for her, this did little to slow down the hunter. at least on its own. Instead, this led the guild on a roundabout chase throughout the Hoarfrost Reach and beyond to fight powerful monsters that the Tracker already knew were there. Velkhana? She knew about that. Shara Ishvalda? Okay, this one may have been a bit of a surprise. After returning from a short absence to check on Safi'jiiva, the Tracker found out about Shara Ishvalda and alerted the guild to its presence. The Hunter, of course, deals with it, leading the Tracker to be more and more afraid of what she will have to do in order to have her alien monster child survive the coming storm. And to her, the answer became clear. She needed to feed it a more powerful creature than an Aptonoth. And so, while the Hunter was distracted by the guiding lands, the Tracker took up her slinger crossbow and culled the New World Rathalos population in half, force-feeding it all to her creation as quickly as possible to prepare it for the battle ahead. And finally, it was done. Shed after shed, meal after meal, Safi'jiiva was no more, and Safi'jiiva was born, the ultimate creation of the Tracker. However, no matter who I bring this theory to, they are always left with the same question. If Safi'jiiva was saved by the Tracker and turned into Safi'jiiva, then why is Zeno blue and white and translucent, and Safi red and cream and opaque? Well, the answer is quite simple, ladies and gentlemen. Shedding is a form of change, allowing a creature to become something slightly new every time. And while shedding, the Safi'jiiva was eating ton upon ton of Rathalos meat. And if science has proven one thing at all, it is this: you are what you eat! As it currently stands, the Tracker's next plans are unknown, as are her whereabouts. Maybe she's retired from the monster-enhancing business. Maybe she's ready to lead a relaxed, calming, civil life. Or maybe she's preparing our next new threat. I'm not saying the Tracker is a threat to our way of life. I'm simply saying that she could be. So until next time, sheeple of all ages, stay vigilant. This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love. So let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes when they're watching us play video games, when we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters, or important news about the kingdom Animalia. Rage, Continent, Hollow, we're all here talking about the things you want to hear. So if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons, even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros. There's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.